Well, you know I like to think I would, but I can guarantee that what you see is not reality. Never thought you make the point to make it get a boy. You said it's easy, but in the end you have no choice. And you know, so just the way that
Hi YouTube, I'm Mike Smith, and today I'd like to talk about this past season of South Park, season 15. Well, I only have 10 fingers, but if I had a third hand, I would have 15, and that is how many seasons there have been of South Park now. Basically, I just want to talk about, the season in general. It's like a season review, let's say. And yeah, so let's just go right into that. Basically, my history with South Park is limited. I started watching South Park about 2 years ago. And it was a show I hadn't really thought much of before I started watching it. I mean, it premiered in '97. I was born in '93. And my mom wasn't about to let a 4-year-old watch South Park. My mom was pretty good about keeping me away from that kind of stuff. So I didn't watch it, and I just kind of had the opinion that it was kind of dumb, That was before I started watching it. And then about 2 years ago, I would say, I was just like watching movies at my house, and I was pulling an all-nighter. And it was like 3 a.m., I had nothing else to do, and the South Park movie came on Comedy Central, and I figured I'd just turn it on and, just put it on while I'm trying to go to sleep. And I ended up loving it. I absolutely loved that movie. It was awesome. Just a really hilarious, great movie. If you haven't seen it, it's fantastic. And that movie totally changed my opinion of the show. I started watching it on Netflix, and I started just watching a ton of it. I've seen most episodes of it now, and it's great. I mean, it's a great show. I have a newfound respect for Trey Parker and Matt Stone. I watched some of their other movies. I have the soundtrack to the Book of Mormon, which is great, by the way. I hope to go see that show at some point, too. So, anyway, yeah, South Park is a great show. But, watching most of those episodes, it's clear that in the past few years, the show has declined in quality quite a bit. Specifically, I'm thinking of season 14 and 13 also a little bit. I mean, there's people walking in the background. Just ignore them. It's a college and people are loud and I hate them. And I don't mean to say it got bad, but just it was getting steadily less good, let's say. But there were still good episodes to keep through. This season started out weird. Basically, for those of you who don't know, South Park splits their season in two. So they do 7 episodes in the spring and 7 episodes in the fall. And so the spring is when it starts the season, fall is when it ends it. And so for the spring portion of the season, I was really worried because I was watching it and I wasn't enjoying it so much. There were a couple of good episodes that I liked. In that first half, I enjoyed the Crack Baby Athletic Association episode. I thought that was really funny. And honestly, I can't think of anything else other than You're Getting Old. And You're Getting Old was a big episode for South Park fans. You're Getting Old seemed at the time very self-referential to the fact that the show wasn't as good as it was. And it did a lot of big things. It was very emotional for a South Park fan. Now, granted, I've only been watching the show for 2 years, and I've caught up on most of it. But I imagine for somebody who's been watching South Park for however long, for the entire length of the show being on the air, I imagine it was pretty tough to watch. It was pretty I was watching it. I was like, this doesn't seem like South Park, but I loved that they did it. And it seemed like a commentary that maybe Trey Parker and Matt Stone were getting bored with the show. And I think a lot of the decline in quality has to do with their working on the Book of Mormon over the past couple of years. So You're Getting Old. It just seemed like them announcing that they don't care anymore. And people were like, does this mean the end of South Park? Is that the end of South Park? And they failed to realize that there was still a second half of the season to come. So, there was that. And then they were already renewed for a couple of years. So it wasn't going to be the end of South Park, but it could have been radically different as we know it, which I think would have been a really cool direction. So obviously my interest was really high going into the back half of the season, which started about 7 weeks ago, to check it out. And I must say, I mean that okay. So the first episode of the season was basically a continuation of You're Getting Old, which had Stan growing up. His parents were divorced, and at the end of the episode, everything regressed back to the way it was. But it was funny. Like, they did it in a funny way, and it was a funny episode, and I enjoyed it. Now, I said the first half of the season wasn't too great. A couple of good episodes, like better episodes here and there, like Crack Baby Association, and You're Getting Old. And I feel like there's one more, but I just can't grasp it right now. But then there was like terrible episodes in that half too. Like I hated City Sushi. I thought that was terrible. And Funny Bot. I mean, I hated that one too. This half of the season was amazing. I mean, they were on fire every episode. It was a great half of the season. Totally made up for the first half. These past 7 episodes, some of the best the show has produced in years. I mean, there was the comeback. There was the first episode with the continuation of You're Getting Old. There was Last of the Mohicans, which was great. I think my favorite of the season was Broadway Brodown, which was awesome. So Randy discovering that all Broadway shows are secret messages to get men blowjobs from their wives. I thought that was brilliant, and it was just really funny. And it was funny because, I mean, Trey Parker and Matt Stone did Book of Mormon, but they didn't make any Book of Mormon jokes right until the very end, and at the very end they threw one in there. So that was great. I thought that was a really funny, really clever way of doing it. What else? There was the Thor episode, which started off as like a Thanksgiving thing and just turned into a parody of Thor, and it was ridiculous but awesome. Other than Broadway Brodown, I think my favorite episode of the season was Bass to Mouth, which was great. It had the return of Lemmy Winks, so that was cool. And it was just some really ridiculous stuff, and it was great. I mean, I loved it. And then this past Wednesday was the season finale. Yesterday was the season finale, which featured Kenny getting taken away from his parents and put into a foster home. And that meant that Cartman was now the poorest kid in school, and it was just vintage Cartman. It was so funny. And then it ended with Kenny dying, because why not? And it was just one of the most awesome Kenny deaths I think I've ever seen, where just a giant reptilian bird monster just crashed through the building and ate him, and then like everybody's just like, and Stan just goes, "What the fuck?" And that was the end of the season, and that was a pretty brilliant end to the season. So yeah. This was a really interesting season of South Park, as I hope you can tell from my ramblings. I really loved it. I really loved this season of South Park. It was great. If you had asked me that, if you had asked me my opinion of the season when the first half ended, wouldn't have been this glowing of a review. But it really came together. In this last half, Trey and Matt just seemed so re-energized and ready to go, and I really hope that that poses good things for the show's future. I mean, it's always been a show that, they do the show in like 6 days, so it's amazing to me the kind of stuff they can do in 6 days for this show, and yeah, I'm ready for more South Park. I do hope Trey and Matt do something else also. I mean, I love that soundtrack to the Book of Mormon. Their movies are really funny. I love Cannibal the Musical. If you haven't seen it, I'd suggest checking that out because it's pretty awesome. But yeah. So, I guess that about wraps it up. I really enjoyed this season of South Park. Hopefully this will be like a recurring thing where if a show I watch has an end to its season, then I will just post my thoughts on that season. So, yeah, that's about it for my South Park Season 15 review. Hopefully I'll get a chance to see The Descendants this weekend, so I'll probably try to post something about that. Yeah, that's about all I got. So, Remember, follow me on Twitter. MS Film Blog, at MS Film Blog. So if you want to do that, you can. I am allowing you to do that. So, there you go. You have my permission. Yep, that about wraps it up. My name's Mike Smith, and have a good night, YouTube.